Epic drop.
Hello, and welcome to episode 2 of our podcast series here on 33 Media Studio Productions. This is pretty cool. So we have the co-promoter of a new karting series in the area, the Outlaw Predators. Cole Nelson is in the house. What's going on, Cole?
Oh, not too much. How about you?
No, just sitting here trying to beat the heat, probably like everyone else.
Yeah, that's for sure.
So, listen, it's really cool for you to come down and hang out at the compound here, as I like to say. And because, we want to talk about the series and we want to talk about how the season's going because you're halfway through the season now.
Yep.
And kind of, just get a feel for how things have been going, like how the idea came about and, maybe some future plans and goals that you have for this whole deal. So let's first start out with how did this whole idea come about and what it makes it different from, like, how do you make it stand out from other series? So let's just start at the beginning and where that happened and go from there.
Well, it all started last season a little bit when we kind of got sick a little bit of the motor tires. And they're fun, and we had our time in them, but we were looking for something with a little more bite and a little, hopefully a little wider racing, and but some bigger motors and whatnot. And so we were testing a little bit up to Kuroga, and we ran the tires over here at the Rakowski Family Speedway to see what they'd do on a small track, even with limited horsepower. And then the idea kind of just sat on the back burner for a while, and we were waiting to see what was going on with the Open Pro or Unlimited or whatever you want to call it today, the HCB class. And after waiting on rule books and whatnot, we just decided it might be just best for us to do our own thing and maybe draw some attention to something else. And kind of the Outlaw Predators were born, and we haven't looked back since.
So what is, you mentioned mower tires. Like, we're going to pretend that people listening to this, like, don't know what we're talking about, right? Because I know what you're talking about. Obviously, I know what you're talking about. I know what you mean when you came here and tested at the track here at the house. So like mower tires. So for people who don't know, let's pretend there's people listening who don't know, because there may be people listening who don't know what you're talking about. So
I think that's best for you to explain what
yeah,
those are.
That's true. So a few years ago, I came up with an idea. Well, me and another friend of mine who were involved in mower racing in the area. And long story short, we put mower tires on go-kart chassis. And we kind of viewed it as a cost-effective, economical way for people to get into karting.
And to get away from the tire prep.
And to get away from the whole tire game that seems to permeate karting, and people, it's you either love it or hate it.
Yep.
There's really no in between.
Yep.
So, and then, certain circumstances, and that's another story for another time, kind of led me to stepping back from it. So, and you ran with the mower tire groups, and
yep.
And then, we had kind of a rule package for a pro series that never materialized. And then, and I remember last year when you were here and you were testing at the house, and I actually got to hot lap one of the karts that had the racing tread tires on, and that was a lot of fun because you could see the difference
in the driving
and in the grip that you had, and it wasn't there was super substantial amount. Like, you weren't glued to the track.
No.
You just had a little more drive.
Freedom.
Mm-hmm.
You could move around the track a lot more.
Yeah, and you had just a little more drive and just a little more, drive off. And so, so I remember you when guys were talking about it, and, you're thinking about doing it, and who's the guy that runs it with you guys?
Roy Kilmar, and him and I run the series.
Okay, yeah, because, so, and I remember when, you guys were getting going, but, I guess, what was the like the main moment that you decided to really just step out on your own, and why did you go the direction you went with the, your motor package and what you're going to do with the tires? Maybe explain that to people a little bit about what that entails and why you went the way you did.
Yeah, I guess we were just looking, as we say, for the more of a modified feel in the kart. We wanted the speed kind of the speed of the clones, but the tire prep does turn a lot of people away, and we were hoping going to the racing treads would draw some new people into kart racing. People that might have had a car or might have raced in years past and decided tire prep wasn't for them and slick tires weren't for them, and we've had a lot of people who decided to come give us a try and build karts to to run an outlaw, and they like not having a tire prep. They like the way the karts feel. They like how they drive. It it's for them. I think it's more racer and driver than necessarily being a chemist. And that's just them personally. And I've raced the mower tires. I've raced the extreme budgets, which are slicks. And I've obviously raced the outlaws. And I'll tell you, there's not a class I have more fun racing than the outlaws. And I've done all three.
So I guess why Outlaw? Why'd you guys come up with Outlaw? Like, what was the reasoning behind the name Outlaw Predator? Obviously, the Predator has to do with your motor package.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. We run I can't say an open 212, but it's a pretty close to open 212. Mostly stock appearing. Minus like a carburetor and just a couple other things in our rules. But the Outlaw was just, we wanted something different from normal kart racing. So that's where the Outlaw name came from. It was just, something outside of what everything else is going on, and we wanted to do a traveling series. Move from different tracks, day racing, night racing, a tacky track, a hard track, big track, small track, banked, not banked, kind of hitting everything to try and give drivers a chance. Some drivers are going to strive a lot better on a small track, and some drivers will do a lot better on a big track, and it allows people to feel more comfortable with that they might have a shot at winning. And not only that, as far as the Outlaws, I forgot, I lost my train of thought.
That's okay. So, but you guys strictly travel, right?
Yeah.
Like, you don't have
there's no home track.
Yeah, and that's the plan for the series.
Yep.
Moving forward till the foreseeable immediate and long term future is just to maintain the travel series. I like that. So I like that, and I like that because
Cost.
It cost, and you can race, and then you can do other things, like say you got a family, I got 4 kids.
Mm-hmm.
You can race, you can put it up for a couple weeks if you want to go test somewhere in between.
Mm-hmm.
You gauge how much time you have between races, or you can do your maintenance, make sure you're good to go.
Scale. There's a lot of things, a lot of time.
Set it up and then just put it away for a while. And so personally, I like that. And especially if you're not traveling like it's like every other week or every week or something. No, you're not running. But is that like the plan? Do you have like maybe in your guys' head have like a like a cap on how many races you want to run during the year, or because the temptation I can see to be where if you have some success
is to add more.
Would be to add more. It would be to grow maybe faster than the maybe the economics or the region will hold. So I mean, what's is do you have like a sweet spot for races? I mean, would you run 12 this year? You got 12 scheduled?
We got 12 scheduled this year. We originally had 11 with a series rain date, which we ended up using just to add that Oswego race because they were so interested in having us come out. So we threw that on the schedule right around our first race. We threw that on near our first event.
Mm-hmm.
And other than that, I think we'd like to cap it off at about 15 races in a season. I think anything more than that becomes too regular. Anything less than like the 12 we have scheduled, it's, to me, a series is you got to have a lot of races in order to actually have a champion.
Mm-hmm.
I know there's been others that have done only a couple races, and to me that's just not a series. You don't see the short track super series running 4 races and crowning a champion. They're running 10, 12, 15 or more.
Yeah.
And now that's across multiple regions or points regions, I should say, for them. And same thing with the Super Dirt Car series. They don't run 4 or 5 races. They run a full series, a full schedule. And that's kind of, we don't want to run too many where it becomes like another job, but you want to have that fine line between the two.
Yeah. So.
because there's a lot of maintenance to, especially if you're running different tracks. There's a lot of setup stuff you
Hmm.
may have to change gearing and maintenance. Oh, just the basic maintenance stuff. It's not only that, the motors, they're really, most of them you can get about 10, maybe 12 before a refresh, depending on the motor builder, and depending on what they feel comfortable building. So, you don't want to have guys be forced to have 2, 3, 4, 5 motors. If they can get one through most of the season and get it quick, get a refresh, whether it be halfway or maybe they can squeak it through the entire season. That's kind of another part.
So, and that's a good segue into, let's talk about the motors, right? So, I mean, obviously, you said earlier you have some pretty basic guidelines as far as what's your base,
Hmm.
So maybe just talk about your rules package for people who don't know, and kind of give us kind of some insight into what it entails if someone wanted to go out and they wanted to either go to someone to get a motor done for this class, or they wanted to build it themselves. What are they looking at as far as what you can do to the motor, and and stuff like that.
Basically, it's open internal. It's got to have a stock block. Now, if you want to bore it out or anything like that, have at it. And internals are off limits. It just can't be, a billet or Tillotson block. It's got to be a stock block. It's got to have, or it can't have a billet side cover, no billet head. You can put an aftermarket clone style, however you want to word it, head on. They can be machined as well. Carburetor is open, as we allow open fuel, so we had to open up the carburetor rule a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, it's got to have and it has to have a recoil. It has to be started by a recoil, no starters, no electric starters. And other than that, I mean, we got a couple other safety rules with the motor, like obviously your muffler, your arm guard, um, like the header being wired. Um,
The usual,
the
like
usual safety stuff. Yeah.
typical safety stuff
Yeah.
you're gonna find on pretty much
And
any
the
karting
only other
motor.
one that's different that I don't know if that's mandatory in most classes, but it is for us is fuel lines. All fuel lines to and from the carburetor, to and from the fuel pump, tank, whatever. Everything's got to be fastened or zip tied or somehow held on there so it's not going to come popping off and fuel's not going to leak all over, because when you are running methanol, that's pretty dangerous to have catch
Yeah.
on fire.
No, that makes sense. When I had the kids' motors with the fuel pumps on it, we zip tied everything.
Everything.
Sometimes double zip tied because you don't want that stuff coming loose.
Nope.
When you're racing. So it sounds like you've created a motor package that you're still keeping costs down because it's not an open. Because then you can get into some really serious stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But you've given people flexibility.
Yeah, I'd say so.
To kind of have put their own creative spin or touch on what they're going to do with the motor to find a little extra edge that maybe someone else doesn't have.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of it. We've noticed that some motors are working better on certain size tracks. Restarts. I mean, you name it. There's everybody. We've got probably, I'd say, we've seen probably 6 or 7 different motors, whether that be home built, engine builders, doesn't matter. We've seen probably 6 or 7 different motors, and they've all had strong strengths in one spot and weaknesses in others. And that's the name of the game. This guy might build it this way, and this guy might build it a different way. And one in particular, Nick Sidley, he's got a pretty stout motor when it comes to restarts. And I'll tell you what, if we come down to a green-white checkered, I think he's going to be the one to beat. His motor pulls like no other on the start, and
Mm-hmm.
and when it gets up to speed, it kind of falls off a little bit. But man, on any restart or initial start, he's got more takeoff than anybody.
So he's got a good piece for a little short track boring.
Oh yeah,
Like you ran this
Oswego.
this past Saturday.
Yep.
You ran in Oswego. How did that go?
Well, it was pretty good. It's a small track. Unfortunately, it was pretty one-laned. I know that's kind of the typical going when it goes to, most kart racing. But I know we've ran the Valley, or not the Valley, sorry. We ran Turkey Trot one night, and boy, was that track wide. I mean, I was putting my right rear just about in the grass on the outside of the track to set up for the corner, and you just got tons of run. I mean, it was just it was wide and it was tacky, so that was one of those instances where a pretty big motor was definitely going to help you out a lot better than somebody with a smaller motor. But that's the name of the game on a slick track. It's the exact opposite. So,
Yeah, I mean, you see that in big car racing
oh
too.
yeah,
These guys will come to these shows, and you see it in Super Dirt Series, right? Um, what did Outlaw
Outlaw they had
freezing
Stewie. Yep.
freezing at a spec through 58?
Yep. And it was a
So
slick track. It was
slick
dusty.
track. Mm-hmm.
I mean, tires came into effect on some other people there at the end. The last probably 10 laps, tires started going down for guys that were running different lanes, and he happened to have luck on his side for sure.
Yep.
No tire issues, and in the small block, I think helped with that. He didn't burn the tires up as much.
So hey, look at this. You're great segue. We're once again segueing. Let's talk about your tires. So what do you run for tires? What are your rules, and how did you guys come to this conclusion about that this is what you're going to do for your tire package?
Basically, it all started when we found a set of tires on rims, brand new treads. They still had the what do they call it? What are those called? The little knobs on there. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, from the mold.
Yeah, they got the knobs from the mold, and they were still on the tires, brand new on rims, never raced, for $100. We're like, well, let's try these. Just race tread. Let's, we wanted to do some testing, and they worked well. We ran over 300 laps last season on them with different motors, different drivers, different karts, and they handled really well. We really liked how they were, so we went in with that was going to be our baseline tire, and we worked with Burris to get a tire dealer, to become a tire dealer, and we ended up running the 11.5. Were they 11.5 7.00 what are they, sixes, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like basically the equivalent of a left front tread, and then or a left rear tread, and then we run that on the right front, the right rear, and the left rear, and then the left front is just a standard 6.5-inch.
Mm-hmm.
And the number, I mean, that doesn't really matter. It's in our rules, but so we basically run the same tire all the way around except for the left front, and they handle pretty good. We allow 33 compound and the 22 compound. The 33's Duro about 52 to 54, give or take, and then the 22's Duro like 42 to 44. So we do allow it a compound option, and that's been a fun thing trying to test and play around with compounds. I've been doing it a lot, and it's bit me sometimes, and it's helped out a lot other times. It's the name of the game.
Now, have you seen that in any of the races so far, where guys have been on different compounds and it's been maybe beneficial to one guy or not so, or you seen that,
I've had it work really well for me, and I've been bit by it, and I was bit by it at this weekend. I made the wrong tire choice on the right rear, and it was great for the first about 20-25 laps, and when we got that caution at about lap 33, as soon as we took the green, I'm like, "Yep, my tires are gone," and I just kind of milked it out to the last 17 laps or so, and held on to fourth because I had nothing. I didn't really have much on that restart after that. So I mean, that's the name of the game. It happens to the big guys. It'll happen to everybody. If you play it's part of racing, and I like it.
Yeah, that's cool where you have that element of compound choice versus
tire.
one tire, or you got what you put in it prep wise. Which, listen, I'm not knocking the guys who run the prep. There's guys who love it, and there's something to be said for that. I personally am not a huge fan of it. So, but I think there's a place in the world for both ways. But
yeah.
So I mean, how? So let's kind of step back. We have a general idea of the motor, general idea of the tire, and so how's the season gone so far? How many races have you run? Kind of what tracks and how do you view? I mean, this is your first season, and it's not a small task to come up with an idea
and make it
happen and get something new and introduce something new and
get interest.
And get tracks to buy in to want you to come to schedule, and then you to get racers, to get people to invest in the product that you're trying to put on the track, and to have them support it. So what's the season been like, and have you what's the, it's going to boil down to people are going to ask. You're going to wonder what's your cart count been like. That's going
Yeah.
to be the ultimate benchmark for how a series is doing is
Yeah.
how many carts do you got coming out, especially with being a strictly travel series.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a big
So
part of it.
yeah, so let's touch base on that and just let your
So
thoughts.
as far as how the season's going, we've had 5 different winners at 6 tracks. At six races, we've ran 3 tracks. Yeah, 3 tracks so far. We've had 5 winners on 6 races, which is, I'd say, pretty good with the level of talent that's running with us and the equipment that's running with us. So I mean, I think at any given point, there's a handful of about, if we had 10 carts, there's 6 or 7 guys that could go out and win it on any given night.
Mm-hmm.
There's probably 5 that are, 4 or 5 that are definitely right there. They'll be there every time, and there's those 2 or 3 that'll definitely, depending on the track, they could hit it and they could dust you.
Yeah.
So that kind of puts a little, puts the nerves on everybody, because everybody's on edge. You don't know if you're going to go out there and hit it, and especially now that we're traveling the tracks we haven't ran yet, it's really going to put a twist on things. So far, I mean, the most we've had was 10. I think we're averaging just shy at 9, 8, 8 and a little over 8.5 carts. That's our average cart count, which
Yep.
that was my guess. I figured 8 carts for the first half of the season, so we're a little bit above what I figured our average was going to be. I know next race, I'm not 100% sure, but I think we could see at least 12. We've got, we saw 9 at Oswego, which was fantastic, to travel over 2 hours away,
Yeah, absolutely.
to a track nobody's ever, none of us have ever raced these on, and none of us have really, most of us haven't raced there in general. So that was cool. And I know there was a little money on the line. We ended up paying top 5, which was awesome. We don't really want to do a lot of money races. We're trying to, do just the points fund, try and make people race a little smarter the whole season.
Yep.
And so far it's been working well to that. People have been racing a lot smarter and a lot more conservative, because the jackpot at the end of the season is going to be a lot bigger than a $200 to win money race.
Yeah. So how does that work? How did you guys come up with like your point structure and your payouts and because it's you are leaning more towards you know it's more of a reward for people who
Consistency.
consistent and they show up.
Yeah.
From talking, you guys don't do any drops,
No drops.
and I don't believe in drops either. So
Nope, they don't do drops in the short track super series or Lucas Oil late models or any of them. I'm sorry, but the guys that show up are the guys that deserve to win at the end of it. Everybody has the same schedule to run the same amount of races.
Mm-hmm.
So the winner at the end of the season is the winner at the end of the season. I mean, you're gonna have breakdowns. You're gonna have, you might get in a tangle. You might have a motor blow up. I mean, it happens. So that's just what it is. If at the end of the season you don't come out on top, you don't come out on top, and you go try it next season.
Well, and that's the beauty of racing, because that's
You
how
don't
racing
know.
that's how racing is. I mean, you can
Uncertain.
if you run your local track every week, same thing could happen. But
Yeah.
so how did you guys come up with the idea of your point fund, and how does that work? And say someone wants to get in the series and they want to go, well, I don't want to invest all this money and equipment up front and re-racing for just a big cardboard check or whatever it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So how did you guys come up with the idea of how you're going to do your points fund, and what does that look like for the racer?
Well, I guess the points fund was to really try and get better racing out of the drivers, just smarter racing. It was just there, because I've raced for points at a track, and at the end of the year you get a trophy, and that's it.
Mhm.
There's no, and it's fine. That was a budget class. I'm just saying for in general, whether you're running a clone, a wing champ, stage 1 HCP, whatever it may be that you're running, at the end of the season, there's no benefit to running every week.
Right.
There's literally no benefit. And we wanted to put that in. We wanted to entice people to run every race. And, that way the guy at the end of the season is getting the guy that won, the guy that showed up every week is getting the big check, at our awards banquet. And that, I think, to the drivers, I think it means a little bit more. I mean, yeah, I think the last race is going to be interesting.
Mm-hmm.
That one's going to be it could be really hairy, but at the same time, it's also a 50 lapper to end the season. So people still got to race smart because 50 laps on a big track is a long time.
What's that, Dodge for your last
Dodge
race?
City.
Yeah, that
The Outlaw 50 finale.
50 laps of Dodge is going to be insane. That's
We
awesome.
we will do a halfway stop just to swap oil because those motors, you might see a lot of them drop otherwise. And I mean, we thought fuel was going to be an issue originally at Oswego. Then when we saw the track, we decided to go no fuel stop, and I don't think I burned. I was turning upper 7,000s, and I think I might have burned a third of a tank of fuel.
Yeah.
You know, I was expecting a lot more, but we didn't have a lot of cautions either. It was 32 laps green, 17 laps green. You know, we had 2 cautions, that was it. So we didn't burn near what I thought we would. So I mean that, as far as that's concerned. What was the other question you had there?
Well, just how, so what's your point from?
Points.
Yeah,
Points.
What's your point from look like? How's that work at the end of the year?
Right now, our total is over. Don't swear it. I haven't added up last time. It's all on the computer, but it was over 2. It was 20. It might have been 22. That was before we raced. That was after 5 races. We were over 2.
Nice.
2,000. We're hoping if we're starting to get a little bigger cart counts, which means more money into the points fund.
Yep.
We're hoping to pay the winner $1,500. Probably second is going to be 1,000. Third, $750, and obviously we got to pencil it out, see what we have at the end of the season.
Right.
I know it's probably looking like the top 5's getting money, and then after that, I think we're gonna maybe give away a half set of tires here, a half set of tires, or a full set, or a set of panels, or a spoiler or something, something that's not cash value necessarily, but the equivalent to somebody that's running a series.
Yeah.
So hey, you didn't get, you were 7th, but here's 2 sets of, or not 2 sets. Here's 222 700s. That's the number, the size number.
Yeah.
That you can now use next season or something like that.
Well, and
it helps them get back into it the next year.
Yeah, and that's a big thing is you may not finish in the money, but we're racers. We all know that. Sometimes someone hands you a set of panels, or they hand you a set of. It's
equivalent.
It's equally as helpful as someone handing you some bills.
Yeah, especially if all these short track races keep going the way they're going. Some people might need some. We might have to do a couple sets of panels. Anyway, but yeah, and then the points or the neat thing we do, or we're doing, is every race. Whether it's short track, super series, the high limit sprint, any of them, they all do a hard charger, but there's no really, what is it? There's nothing there. So we decided we were going to do a hard charger bonus and award the hard charger a bonus 2 points.
Nice.
Towards their points fund. So, on a normal night, the most anybody can get is 62 because we use the same breakdown as most tracks do, is a 60 for first, 56. So you got that 4-point split between the first and second, and then everything else is 2 points.
2 points after
back
that.
to 10th, and then 10th on back, so we can try and keep it close, is the same. Whether you have 20 carts or 10, anything after that is getting the same amount of points. So it kind of keeps it tighter.
Yep.
Especially if we start getting over that 10, we start getting to 12 or 13 or 14 carts, it's going to really kind of keep things a lot tighter, which, should make the end of the year interesting.
Well, and and you're keeping guys in the series.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're essentially, after 10 is everyone getting last place points, more or less.
Basically, yeah.
Which is, I mean, that's, you say you got a bad night. Say you're 6th in points, right? There's 12 carts, and something happens, you don't finish the race. Well, you still get a halfway decent amount of points, and
well, if the winner gets 60 and you're sitting back in 12th with 40, and so is 10th, you're not really that far out of it. But if you use like the normal breakdown, where I think it's Fonda. I think if you finish outside 20, you're only getting like 22 points.
Right.
So where the winner is walking away with 60, and you're sitting there 22. I mean, there's a big gap now. You know, where we kind of kept it close, and it's been close all season. We're 6 races in. Nick Ryder's leading with 332. I have 331. Ezra is at 320. and Nick Sitterly just took over fourth with 301, and Alex Kilmartin has 298. So there's a couple really close battles going on.
Yeah, they're all.
And there's some battles going on back a little bit too. I don't remember off the top of my hand as much.
But I mean, you got the top 5 within what, 40 points? Oh, less than that.
Less than 40.
Less than
Top
40.
five
Top
is
5
within
was within less than 40. So yeah, so
I think it's 36 or so.
Yeah.
Is the split between first and fifth, I think.
That's phenomenal. That's really good. That's because
34 actually.
Yeah, you're better at math in your head than I am. Because you want to keep guys running. You want to keep guys, give them some incentive, and if they see, maybe this
if
guy.
somebody has a bad race, they're right there to capitalize.
Right, and that's good. I like that. So, so how many more races you got?
We got 6 more.
Yeah, where's your next one?
Our next one will be Lebanon Valley on the 27th. It's a day race.
Day race on the Saturday. Yep.
Yep.
And
Saturday morning, midday. They kind of open the gates early, and then hot laps will start around 11 or so, 10:30, 11 o'clock.
And then where are you going at after that?
We got Dreamfield, I think, is our next one. That's on
that's going to be
17th, and then we go back to the Valley for one of their Pro Series races, the night races on a Friday night.
On Friday, yep.
That's then, gonna be fun. Let's see. We go there, then I think the next race is the O-Ring, and then Penn Can, and then the season finale.
Nice.
I think that's all of them, yeah.
So have you had any, and by the way, I'm going to say, I'm looking forward to that Dreamfield race.
Yeah.
Because that's a brand new track. Shout out Brandon Clapperton down the Southern Tier. And so you have really cool storylines where you got a new series, first year, new track, first year. He's just his opening nights this Saturday.
Yep. And
that's going to be fun. That's going to be exciting. He's done a great job. If you've seen the pictures online, I know you and I have.
Yeah.
It looks like a phenomenal track with a phenomenal surface. So that's going to be a lot. That's going to be a lot of fun. But it's I don't know. I guess the next question I have around tracks is: have you had any other tracks reach out to you? Because, I mean, we don't really have like a plethora of kart tracks in the area. Like within our immediate area, we got Dodge, we got the Valley, and we got Trot.
Basically, yeah.
So, and
Afton's not too far now. That'll be a closer one.
That's about an hour from where we are now, so that's really not terrible. But I mean, have you had any other tracks reach out to you?
Not yet. I mean, obviously, Oswego, they hit us up when they somebody actually from the O-Ring invited the promoter in our group, and after he read our rules and saw what we were doing in pictures and whatnot, he reached out immediately, and he wanted us there, and we were trying to pencil it into our schedule, their schedule, and we happened to have this was if we didn't run Oswego, we had almost a month off. So I was like, it kind of keeps everybody on their toes. I'm glad we ran that race. There was a couple little hiccups in the racing itself. You're gonna get that. It's racing, stuff happens, unfortunately. I've been on the receiving end. I know pretty much every single person that's raced, more than a season has been on the unfortunate side of accidents or wrecks or getting spun or whatever. Maybe,
It's the highs and lows of racing. We've all been there. So, was the feedback good from them? Did you hear?
Yeah, they loved it. They loved having us there.
Good.
I know that's probably, if he keeps running that track, that's probably going to be an annual event.
Nice.
Obviously we'll get more karts. We'll have to, work with them a little bit differently on the race. Hopefully, try to get the track a little, I guess a little more wider would be nice. It's a small track, and I do think if it wasn't, quite a day race with it was hot. I mean, it was in upper 80s at least, and we were still racing when the sun was going down. So, it was dry and it was dusty, a little bit dusty, but it definitely made it a driver's track. Just wish, we would have been able to do a little better with the passing and whatnot. I wish we had a little more room to, move around, I guess, so everybody wasn't freight training the bottom. I think if you had, like we've talked about with your track, if you had a little bit more, a little grip up top,
Mm-hmm.
I think it would have been a fantastic track because the bottom was slick and it was going to be slick. And I think if you had some bite up top, I think
Yeah.
that track could have wide. There's nothing to lose in 50 laps. You got a lot of time to move around. You
Yeah.
know, so if somebody can get out and find something, well, and they start moving, it'll make the racing good. People move around. I think the only reason we had any little hiccups was just because everybody was hugging the bottom. And I think that was
Yep.
what caused. Nobody can pass. It was kind of like one of the icebreakers at Fonda. I remember. I think Pat Ward ended up winning it one year, and it was just everybody was on the bottom, and they'd all catch a lap car, and nobody could pass the lap car. You couldn't get out, or you go back 7-8 positions.
Yep.
So everybody was just following this lap car around for 20 laps, I think, until caution came out. It was just a leader. It was just a bunch of them. Nobody, they're all trying to stick a nose in, but everybody's protecting the bottom, and that's what this race was. And you definitely had to drive it, and you had to try and make as minimal amount of mistakes as possible. But
yeah, and that's the every track promoter, and if you run a track, you want
Wide.
you want good racing, you want the track to be wide, you want guys to be able to run everywhere they want, and
definitely.
it's always the challenge, and I'm sure after you guys got done and they looked at it, I'm sure they'll be figuring out ways to analyze and try to see if you can get the racing better. But that's cool if they want you back. So, I guess so. It's been a good first half season so far.
Definitely.
Have you met your expectations to this point?
I think we've exceeded them a little bit.
Good.
Our biggest thing was, can we get, I know we started in, kind of got drummed up right before the car show, probably, I don't know what it had to have been, probably end of February or so.
Yeah.
It was about a month before the car show at Rotterdam Mall.
Yep.
We kind of started this and got into works, and we figured we'd have about 8 to start, and we had 8 to start the first race, and we figured it would kind of be up and down, trying to get people interested, and if we could keep them people coming back, and then we started getting outside interest, and one guy would see us at this race, and another person saw us here.
Yep.
And it's in the biggest thing that was that told us we're doing what we're supposed to be doing, is that after the first race, all the hate stopped. After everybody saw us race, the hate stopped.
Yep.
And that was what really, said this is going to be something good, something that drivers want to do, because everybody that was harassing us, everybody that was complaining about what we were doing, for the most part, basically shut up after that. And it's great.
For the most part, we need to.
Yeah, I mean, you're always gonna have those couple people that no matter what you do, they're always against whatever, and that's hey, everybody's entitled to their own opinion, I guess. So
America.
So I mean, but as far as that, I think the other big thing is we were up the trot. We ran 3 races at trot, and every time we were on the track, people were lying on the fence.
That's awesome.
Everybody
awesome.
is just about dropping what they're doing to go watch.
That's
what we were looking for. That's why we aren't running a 20-lap race. We run 30. That's why we don't do single file restarts like every other kart. We do the double file, or the Delaware restart, double file.
Yep.
With the leader up front, because the leader is awarded for being first, and second technically is still awarded for being second. That's the nice part, because usually in most kart races, the guy in second usually gets screwed because he's on the top, and usually it's one lane. But at least the way we do it, the even number on the bottom, so second is getting awarded the spot.
Do you give second lane choice?
No lane choice. It's just even. It's even on the bottom and odd on top.
Okay, all right, and there's the leader starts
and then the leader starts in front.
That's cool.
But it makes the racing fantastic. You don't know what's going to happen, even as a driver.
Yeah. Yep.
You could be shuffled back to 7th and make your way to 2nd just by playing the restarts right.
Yep.
And I've done it myself. It's I've been shuffled back and worked my way through, and you play sometimes you're on the unfortunate side of things with a restart, and you go backwards, and sometimes you get lucky and you make some moves and you go forwards, and that's racing too. It's nice to see that it that can change things a lot and make the racing better.
Well, that's definitely something different you don't see is the Delaware.
No, you don't see double file restarts really in kart racing.
No,
hardly ever.
Yeah, so no, that's cool. I think I'd forgotten that you guys did Delaware double, but
Yep.
that's
And that's all the way
really
through.
cool.
There's no, we don't do single file at all. Even, you have 2 cautions back to back, doesn't matter. We do double file
Really?
all the way to the end. So that's where I was saying, if somebody's got a really stout restart motor,
Yep.
could really do some damage on a green white checkered,
That's
and it makes
that's
it
cool.
it makes it interesting. It makes it nobody knows who's gonna win, and that's
well,
the
well
beauty of it.
clearly because you've had 5 winners in 6
Exactly,
races.
exactly.
Who's the guy that's doubled up?
Nick Ryder.
Go
He
Nick.
won the opening night at Turkey Trot, and then he won at Turkey Trot the last time we were there.
All right, shout out to Nick, only repeat winner.
Yep.
That's it. I mean, it sounds like you guys are doing a lot of really. You're taking, a platform of kart racing, and you guys doing you've tweaked it to, to really maybe add some spice,
Yeah.
and maybe add some, with your points and with your points fund where you're, how's that where you get money from entries and you backlog it into the.
Yeah. So basically, with the points fund is how we'll I don't want to say modify it, but we'll work ahead a little bit next year. But we're getting sponsor money for the races.
Yep.
And basically, if we needed something for that race, like this past time, we had a money race, obviously, and that wouldn't have helped, or we wouldn't be able to do that without the help of Turnpike Glass and Closet Solutions. They sponsored the Oswego race. That helped us put the money up to race that race, and then 973 Racing, Roy Martin, he put up another 100 to kind of to pay that. We were only going to be paying the top 3 because we weren't going to get the 10 minimum. But then he put up the other $100 to pay the 4th and 5th, which was awesome.
Nice.
So we were able to pay the top 5 and kind of help guys get out there. But most of the time we take our portion of the race entry fee.
Yep.
And we put it in a points fund, and we have it for each race it's separate, and then we have our sponsor money and whatever we haven't used or whatever we didn't need to use. We put that into the points fund as well.
There you go.
Obviously when it comes to the end of the season, when we got to do trophies, we'll probably use some of that to help with the awards.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then the only other thing we do is our tire money. So we're a tire dealer.
Yep.
What the money we make off the tires goes back into the points fund to help kind of grow it.
Yep.
So right now, I think we've taken in about 200 in tire sales or so. And that's gone right back into the points fund to help bring that up, and that's how we're gonna be able to pay out whatever. I mean, we got to kind of work it out and see. So we are paying at least the top 5, but
yep.
It's kind of a numbers thing. We're not gonna know till the end of the season how much we're paying out, and we don't want to advertise something we can't match. So we're not. That's why it's always been we're looking ahead and we think we can pay this.
Yep.
We don't know for sure. That's why it's not a set in stone thing. There's no nothing written in stone
well,
yet.
And it's a really interesting approach, and I was thinking about this. I was actually talking to my father about this yesterday, and it really encourages people to not only race every race,
but race smart.
But it encourages people to go talk to their buddies and go, listen, we get more karts and more people run every race.
Fun goes
Our
up.
points fund goes up.
Uh-huh.
And then you guys can take this and you can go, and then, you're like, all right, we have the race, so we're going to fund our points out of the race fees and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And then you guys can go, and if you wanted to, and you have, is you can take the marketability of your series with its growing and it travels all, and you can go, listen, we want sponsors for races.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was mulling, like I said, I was talking to my father about it. I was mulling about it in my head, and I was like, it really encourages people to stick it out.
Yeah.
And then, on the chance that you guys get to, do a money race and you get a sponsor for a money race, it's just like an added bonus.
It's an added bonus, yes.
It's an added bonus, and it'd be nice, and I don't know what the goals are. I'm going to ask you here in a minute. You have a healthy kart count, have a healthy points fund, and then get 80 to 90% or 100% of your races sponsored, which would be phenomenal for the racers.
Yeah, we're working on trying to get them all filled up. It's trying to find them in the area of the track. That's what we're trying to do. You'd like to have somebody that's local to that track sponsor. It makes it a little better for them.
Yeah.
But it's tough. You're trying to reach out in areas you're not used to being in. You don't know what's there. You don't know.
Right.
So it's
right.
that's a next year's thing. After people see it, we can really work on filling it out ahead of time, and then we can get the full schedule with all those logos and then the race names and all that.
Yep.
That just adds to it.
Yeah, no, that's how you add your marketability, and that's how you do your promotion. And so to wrap it up, we've been talking for a while. This is good. This is good. What's your goals? What you guys talked as co-promoters and everything. What do you guys see happening? What would you like to see happen? Maybe give me a quick rundown of if I'm shooting for the moon, what do I want to happen, and then realistically, what I think is going to what do you want to happen, like from a planning perspective for next year? What's your attainable goals? And then to say all the stars aligned, as the phrase goes.
Yeah.
What if that happened? What does that look like?
So realistic goal, I'd love to average like. Boy, this might be shooting for the moon.
Let's hear it. Come on, man.
I think an average of 15 karts a race next season, that'd be like the low. But I want to see a field of 20 at least once.
Oh, that'd be it.
And I think you see a field of 20 of these, or even a 15 of them.
Mm-hmm.
I think the racing will be great. And the other thing that we might throw a little curveball in next season is I think we're thinking about handicapping.
Really?
If we can get enough guys to, we're getting at least 2 or 3 heats, we're gonna try the handicap system because it definitely will make. I think it'll make the racing great.
You gonna handicap? Or you gonna redraw?
No, handicap.
Handicap.
And it makes sense. The first 3 races, they're the freebies.
Yep.
If you do it by draw, and then after that, you won last week. Well, you're starting in the if you can qualify through to the handicapping, you're starting in the back of the handicap group. And it makes drivers have to work harder.
Mm-hmm.
It makes drivers have to be better, and that's what I like to see.
Nice.
As a driver myself, I'd love to see it because I like having to. Now, I don't want to start in the pole every race. I don't want to start up front. It's not fun. I want to work my way through. Yeah, of course, it's great if you can win from there, but I want to work my way through.
Careful. Paul Arns is going to get a hold of this, and he's going to be going, see what I told you? I told you. It's no fun starting on the pole.
Yeah.
Get out of here, Hard Clay. No, we like the Hard Clay Observer. Paul Arns is out in left field.
Yeah, a little bit. But no, I had some input from some drivers, and that was I got thinking about it. I'm like, yeah, that does, it's got a certain ring to it. I mean, we got to work on a lot of things next year to kind of work out the bugs. That's what the first season's for. Nothing's perfect. Nothing's, nothing's 100%, but that's okay. We're trying our hardest, and we're doing what we can do, and working with the drivers and working with teams and trying to get something, that everybody's going to enjoy watching. Everybody's going to enjoy racing. Keep people on their toes.
Yep.
I mean, that's been a big thing. Can we get races that has people on edge?
Yeah.
And we've had a few. We've definitely had a few. Some late race passing, some lead changes towards the end of the races. That's what you want. You don't want some guys walking the field for 30 laps. You want people battling. You want people working hard for where they are.
Working hard, couple lanes, 2 wide, 3 wide.
I think, and the other thing, the other point made, the more karts you get, the wider the groove's going to be. And that is so true. You start getting 10, 12, 15, 18 karts. I think that groove's going to widen up. I mean, I'm trying to think of what race I saw. It was definitely a kart race. It might have been the Valley 200. We had 17 karts start the Valley 200.
Yep, last year.
Slick tires. That was, I want to say it was at least 2.5 grooves by the end of the race.
Oh, yeah.
Day racing.
Oh, yeah.
It was it was black, but you had a wide, it wasn't dust, it wasn't marbles.
Mm-hmm.
You had a wide lane to choose from. So, if you were getting lapped, you weren't out in the toolies. You could just move up a lane and still be fast.
Yeah.
And still be battling whoever you were with. And that's, with that many karts, you're going to get that. When you have 6 or 8 karts, you're not going to really get that. It's hard to get that unless the track is fantastic.
Right. Well,
perfect. It had to be a perfect track to get that.
We've talked about that with running here. You know, how many times have we talked about that? That I said 12, 14 karts at this little track I got.
The only one thing about that race was the mower tires. We just couldn't get off the bottom. It had that little bit of dust up top, and it was it's just because it was a day race, and it was still kind of hot out, so you still had that going for you. So we had a lot of karts, and I would be curious to see what that would have done a clean green race though. I
Mm-hmm.
think it might have widened up. You don't know. I mean, it's tough. I think there's a lot can be worked on in any small track. It's a lot easier to work on the small tracks and get them wide than it is to work on a big track and get it
Yeah,
wide for
that's
sure.
true. That's true. So, well, good. So, I mean, pretty much goals next year. Continue to build on this. Kind
Yeah,
of nothing too crazy. Same trajectory. Maybe get a few more races. Try to get more
I
carts
think
coming out.
we're gonna we're not gonna how do I put this? We don't want to necessarily just bunch up a bunch of races at one track. You
Yeah.
know, that's kind of how we started this year. Was just go to the tracks people are familiar with, let them get
Yep.
handling down, get set up down, and then we'll go travel. And that's what we did. You know, we ran Dodge and Trot first 5 of our races
Yep.
between the two tracks, and people were able to kind of figure their stuff out before we started traveling really far.
Yeah.
And it makes it a little easier. You know, if you're having motor trouble, you're not like traveling 2 hours away to have motor trouble.
Right.
You know, stuff
Right.
like
Right.
that. It definitely helps the racer a little more. But I think by next season, most of these people already have run at least half a season. And then the new guys, you know, they'll be at a little disadvantage, but you always get that. And then
That's how it works.
then we'll build on it from there. I think there's definitely the potential for a couple new tracks probably next year.
Yep.
Hopefully at least 2 new tracks, and maybe you know add 2 races here, or take away a race here, just trying to even the playing field. Let have some small tracks, have some big tracks, so it's not
Yep.
all just one running at one. You know what I mean?
One style or type,
Yeah.
as it were. That way,
Well, and it allows different motors to do better or worse at different
Yeah.
tracks,
and keeps racers on their toes.
Yeah.
You get, there's benefits to running the same track every week, and
definitely.
there's drawbacks to it.
Yep.
You can get comfortable and you can get complacent, and you can, well, I know what this is going to do, and I know what I'm going to do, and
Yep. And you do the same thing,
but
week in and week out.
and you know what? Some people
Like
like
that.
that. Ava.
Yep.
Is
She wants the same thing.
She
all
wants
the
the same
time.
thing. Aaron's like, I go anywhere. I don't care. I just want to drive. So,
Yeah.
but but that adds to the allure as a driver. Like for me personally,
Makes you better.
I would want to go different places. I would want to go places I've never experienced. I'd want to, have the challenge of figuring out before the next guy.
The Valley Race.
So yeah.
That Valley Race.
So, well, that's cool. So anything. So before we end here, is there any? You mentioned you had some race sponsors and stuff. So is there anyone that you want to thank for, really being
There's tons of
a
them.
driving force behind the series? People help you out with sponsor races or whatever. And
We've had. Let's see.
Let's hear the people you got to thank for.
Emco Construction. They sponsored the first race. The second race was sponsored by Karen's Produce and Ice Cream. The third race, that was JRN Composted Soils. Fourth race was at Trot. It was Adirondack Blast and Coat.
Mm-hmm.
Then we had, who was the fifth race? Oh, Rouse Welding.
Yep.
Rouse Welding
Yep.
or Mobile Welding. He also races the series. And then obviously Turnpike Glass and Closet Solutions.
Nice.
They sponsored our last race. And I mean, there's Burris. Obviously, they're giving us a hell of a deal on the tires and allowing
Nice.
us to kind of keep them on the cheaper end for everybody else. They work with us a lot, and they're going to continue to work with us. I have no problems dealing with them with these treads. We don't have any issues. So I mean,
Nice.
other than feathering some tires on some slick tracks, but that you're going to get that. That's just
Do you
how
have
it
any?
is.
Do you have any sponsors for the upcoming races lined up?
I know the last one, the finale, the Outlaw 50 finale is going to be sponsored by Southside Beverage.
Nice.
Other than that, I don't know. I know Adrenaline Rush was going to do one.
Yep.
Or I think they are. We were working on that. Other than that, I don't. We got a couple people we were reaching out to, but nothing set in stone that I know of.
So you hear that, guys? There is open slots for race sponsorship for the series
Yes,
to
there is.
go towards the end of the series. So, get on board with that. So, where can anyone, if they were going on social media, Facebook, whatever, any of the social media platforms, where can they find
The series.
the series? And if they wanted to partner with you guys for race sponsorship or
Yeah.
whatever, help you guys out, point fundraise, how can people get a hold of you guys or find you?
Yeah, so the series is on. It's a Facebook group. It's a private group. You do have to request to join. It's just called the Outlaw Predator. And you just go on there, find the group, request to join, and we'll approve it. Roy and I are the admins.
Yep.
And as far as reaching out, if anybody wants to sponsor a race or help the series out, they can just directly message myself or Roy on Facebook, or reach out on the group, comment
Yep.
or something on a post, and we'll get you on the flyer and whatnot. We make up some pretty badass flyers that people seem to like, and I like them. We're using pictures of the carts and keeping the outlaw theme alive. So yeah.
Yeah, and if for some reason you can't find the group on Facebook, you can reach out here on the YouTube channel, or you can,
Oh yeah, definitely.
contact me directly, Luke Rakowski. I'm on all the platforms, Instagram, Facebook. I'll turn you, I'll point you in the right direction and get you hooked up with these guys. So, anyway, Cole, it was awesome talking about it.
Oh yeah.
It was awesome to have you come down and let them folks know about what's going on, and any last final thoughts about.
Oh yeah. If you can't, come out and make a race. Come watch a race. If you can't, we are on YouTube. Dirt Ninja Racing Videos has every race for the series, along with my personal races. Outside of the Outlaw Predator series, but subscribe. Our videos are already up from Oswego, our heat races and features.
Nice.
And we've had, that's another thing. We're getting upwards 100 to 200 views on each race.
Oh, that's
which
awesome.
is pretty sweet. That's a lot of people watching the races. So
that is
that's
good.
if we're not getting views of the track, we're definitely getting them online, and we're almost to 300 people in our group, which is sweet. And if you are in the group, go invite some more people. Let's get up to 500.
There you go. Get the numbers going. And
Yeah.
I think now our plan here at 33 Media Studio Productions is I think we're gonna plan to go down to Dreamfield for your race, do some
Yep.
video. So I've been talking to you. I've been talking to Roy about that, about doing some behind the scenes. I think it's a cool storyline. New series, new track, new year.
Yeah.
So anyway, so that's all for us tonight. Any final words?
Nope.
That's
all
it.
good.
Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. So, once again, this is Luke Rakowski with 33 Media Studio Productions. Cole Nelson, co-promoter of the Outlaw Predator series here in upstate New York. I will put all the links to their socials and the YouTube channels in the description. And please share, like, subscribe, everything that goes on here with the YouTube channel. And we will see you next time. Thanks for listening.
I don't want this. I need this.